Illegal things you should never do in different countries, part 5. Italy, Rome, keep goldfish in a big glass bowl. Russia, have an anonymous blog with over 3,000 visitors. North Korea, wear blue jeans. French schools, put too much ketchup on your food. Spain, Barcelona, wearing a bikini when you're not on the beach.
Crazy ocean facts you won't believe are true. You're more closely related to a banana than an octopus. This sounds absolutely crazy, but yes, we actually do share more proteins, genetic markers, genes with bananas than octopi. There is a shark that can live for over 400 years. This is true. Right here is the Greenland shark, which is the longest living vertebrate known to man. These guys have been reported to live well over 400 years. The mola mola. Basically, they produce over 300 million eggs every single time they actually lay them. So that's not even the amount in their entire lifetime, which could be in the billions. This shrimp can create temperatures as hot as the surface of the sun. Here's how. Basically, the pistol shrimp has weaponized and uses its enlarged claw to create bubbles that are filled with nothing to stun its prey. However, since the bubbles are filled with nothing, they almost immediately cavitate or implode, which then causes a brief release of heat that is actually the same temperature as the surface of the sun.
This was the moment when an off-duty police officer in Barcelona realized something was seriously wrong at a subway station. A young man on the platform appeared disoriented and unsteady, drifting dangerously close to the edge in a station where trains arrive every few minutes. The officer, later identified as Felisa Pozas, was off-duty but immediately recognized the risk. She walked to an emergency SOS intercom and pressed the button to alert Metro Control that someone needed help. But seconds later, the situation escalated as the man suddenly lost his balance and fell onto the tracks below. Without hesitating, Pozas ran toward him as several nearby commuters rushed in to help. Working against the clock, they grabbed him and hoisted him back onto the platform, knowing a train could enter the station at any moment. No one was seriously injured, and authorities later confirmed the man was not intoxicated. No further details about his condition have been released, but officials say the outcome could have easily been fatal if not for Pozas' awareness, her decision to act immediately, and the fact that she didn't wait for someone else to step in.
Most Scary Urban Legends, Part 3. This is Hanaka-san. She's a sinister Japanese spirit who haunts school bathrooms. She has straight black hair and wears a school uniform that is red. If you feel her dark presence in the bathroom and you're brave enough to knock on the door, you have to knock 3 times and ask, "Are you there, Hanaka-san?" Then a chilling demonic voice will answer, "Yes, I am here." Then she could just vanish by sinking into the toilet and flushing. Or she will grab you through the door with a bloody hand and kill you. Also, you can make her appear by stirring the water in the toilet 3 times and calling Hanaka-san. Then a bloody hand will come out of the toilet and try to drag you down with her. She also follows kids around the playground and passes on a fungus called the Anaka fungus, which spreads throughout your whole body, rotting your skin and killing you. Many people believe this isn't a girl, and Satan himself disguised as it.
Extra Morbid Facts, Part 101. In October of 2024, Micah Smith took his 3 young children, ages 2, 4, and 8, on a 9-mile hike in Utah that authorities described as extremely difficult and dangerous, especially as a major storm was rolling in. Court records say Smith failed to check the weather and continued climbing, even after sending photos of the incoming storm to his wife, who urged him to turn back. Investigators say he refused, later telling police he was comfortable hiking in the dark without lights. By the time they reached the summit around 6 p.m., hail and snow had started falling. The family began descending, but only made it about 600 feet before one child fell and struck their head. At that point, Smith decided to shelter in place overnight with the children, despite worsening weather and inadequate clothing. During the night, prosecutors say the children repeatedly said they were cold, exhausted, and wanted to go home. One child allegedly begged Smith to turn back earlier, saying she was afraid she might not survive, but he refused, calling the hike a once-in-a-lifetime experience. Court documents state Smith later claimed he performed CPR on his son overnight and instructed his daughter to continue the CPR before leaving his children behind. When search and rescue teams located Smith the next day, he was all alone and appeared completely unconcerned about his kids, telling responders he believed one of his children was already dead. A helicopter crew later found the 3 children together, severely hypothermic and inadequately clothed. All 3 children ultimately survived, though 2 were in critical condition, and one had a core body temperature of 63 degrees Fahrenheit that led to a stroke and emergency brain surgery. Smith was later charged with aggravated child abuse and child torture, with prosecutors requesting no bail, arguing he repeatedly chose to continue, despite warnings from the children, their mother, and the worsening weather.
You might recognize Rob Reiner from Hannah Montana or Wizards of Waverly Place, but on December 14th, Rob and his wife Michelle were found stabbed to death in their home. I've been looking into this case all day today because I already started hearing all these conspiracies, but what I found interesting is that the night before, Rob, Michelle, and their son Nick attended a Christmas party together hosted by Conan O'Brien. That party had a lot of celebrities and famous people, and many people who attended said that when Nick showed up, he seemed out of place because, number one, he was wearing a sweater to this party, which was a very, formal party, and he was going around asking people for their names and whether they were famous or not. Obviously, that's such a weird thing to ask, and everyone was freaked out. When Rob noticed that his son was acting erratic, he went up to him and there was this really loud argument in front of everyone. Rob and Michelle then leave the party, and Nick eventually left as well. Now, in case you don't know, for many years, Nick struggled with a drug addiction. But after looking into his past, it seemed that his parents have been very supportive all this time. However, months before their murders, his mother stated that she didn't know what else to do with Nick because his addiction has gotten so bad and they've basically tried everything. Rob was a writer, actor, and directed some of the best films, and even made a film with his son called Being Charlie, which is a story inspired by his drug addiction. But even after this, Nick relapsed. Now, in the morning of December 14th, Rob and Michelle missed an appointment, so their daughter went to their house and she found them deceased, which is so traumatic, especially after seeing videos of how close she was with her parents, especially her father. What's crazy is that a lot of people who worked with Rob and Michelle, they said that when they heard the news, they knew right away that it was their son. Nick was eventually found the next day at a gas station and was charged with both his parents' murders, and if convicted, he is facing life in prison and the possibility of the death penalty.
To this day, this murder case remains a complete mystery. The documentary The Speedway Murders is about a very disturbing crime that happened in the 70s, so let's explain it. In 1978, 4 teenage employees were closing a Burger Chef restaurant in Speedway, Indiana, just outside Indianapolis. Inside were Daniel Davis, Jane Pauley, Mark Myers, and Brynja Stacy. When the morning shift arrived, the restaurant was eerily quiet. The cash registers were mostly untouched, the day's receipts were missing, and the 4 teens were gone. Police initially suspected a robbery, but nothing made sense. Why would armed criminals abduct 4 employees for so little money? 2 days later, the truth emerged in a wooded area in Johnson County about 20 miles away. The bodies of all 4 teenagers were found together. They had been shot and stabbed, execution style, and then left in the cold. The investigators believe they were forced into a car at gunpoint and driven to the remote location. There has been many leads over the years, and everything went cold. Multiple suspects were considered, including local criminals and even individuals connected to the restaurant, but no arrests were ever made. Decades later, the Burger Chef murders remain unsolved, a case haunted by lost evidence, unanswered questions, and the brutal killing of 4 teenagers who were simply finishing a late-night shift at a fast food restaurant. If this sounds interesting to you, then go watch the documentary The Speedway Murders now.
We have some crazy things happening in the world right now. A woman gave birth in a Waymo car on the way to a hospital in San Francisco. The former Olympic snowboarder Ryan Wedding was officially added to the FBI's top 10 most wanted list for reasons I will not say in this video. A businessman from Dubai just bought his wife a $50 million private island. His reasoning for this, he said, was so that she can swim comfortably. Intimacy inactivity has doubled in young adults between the age of 18 and 29 in the last 14 years. In 2010, it was 12% of that age group that had not had intimacy in the last year, and now that age group today is 24%. Booking.com canceled a woman's $4,000 hotel reservation, then offered the same rooms for $17,000. Americans are hoarding our phones longer than ever, and it's apparently costing the economy. A U.S. judge resigned after being disciplined multiple times for wearing an Elvis wig in the courtroom.
Top 3 scariest animals that ever existed and you've never heard of. Number 3, the Titanoboa. The Titanoboa is probably one of the most terrifying animals to ever exist. This prehistoric snake, which lived around 60 million years ago, could reach lengths of 40 to 50 feet and weigh up to 2,500 pounds. Its gigantic size allowed it to dominate the ecosystems of its time. Number 2, the Pulmonoscorpius. The Pulmonoscorpius was an ancient scorpion that lived during the Carboniferous period. About 345 to 330 million years ago, this prehistoric arachnid measured up to 28 inches long, which is much larger than any scorpion alive today. Number 1. The Gigantopithecus. The Gigantopithecus was the largest primate to ever exist. It lived about 100,000 years ago. This giant could reach heights of up to 10 feet and weigh as much as 1,300 pounds. Its massive size made it extremely impressive, but it was probably a peaceful herbivore.
The countries where it rain animals. India. Rain of fish. Australia. Rain of spiders. Honduras. Rain of fish. United States. Rain of frogs. Japan. Rain of tadpoles. Serbia. Rain of frogs.
Oh my god, I feel like I'm in one of my nightmares right now. Who are you? Oh my god. I'm gonna name him Bobby. I have to give it a name, otherwise I'm scared. It's like a giant dolphin, but like humanoid, which you know orcas are my biggest phobia. And, dolphins are orcas, so this just looks like a giant orca to me. Don't much care for it, to be honest with you. But, hi Bobby. Everyone say hi to Bobby. Put down in the comments, hi Bobby. God, this is reminding me of like the nightmares that I have pretty frequently of like giant... Oh! No. This is literally the kind of nightmares that I have so frequently of freaking aquariums. But they have massive whales in them. I have nightmares about it all the time. I'm so freaked out right now.
Here are 3 free horror games you can play right now that are actually disturbing, and all 3 also have playthroughs on my channel. At number 3, we have She's Still Alive. You're trying to keep your wife Bunny safe, but it's getting difficult. She keeps taking her life in various ways, and then the game loops all over again. Why does this keep happening? What is actually going on here? I'm not gonna spoil the ending, but this one is definitely worth checking out. At number 2, we have Beneath Europa. This is a horror game heavily inspired by Iron Lung, except instead of a blood ocean, we're exploring the icy waters of Jupiter's moon, Europa. Again, of course, if you like Iron Lung, this one is going to be a knockout for you. It's chilling, it's isolating, the ending's super cool, and yes, it's scary. And at number 1, we have The Human Construction Site. This is an RPG Maker horror game about an organ farm. This game is grotesque, it's made to make you feel uncomfortable. However, the story is excellent, the characters are great. And if you're into body horror, this is one of my easiest recommendations I can make. There's also multiple endings here, but don't go in expecting a happy ending. This isn't that kind of game.
Here are 7 mind-boggling facts I guarantee you didn't know. And if you did, I'll give you a cookie. First up, what would you say on a scale of 1 to nightmare fuel if I told you that back in the ancient times they used spider webs as bandages? Apparently they had natural antiseptic properties and being rich in vitamin K helping prevent clotting. I'm curious, what would your reaction be if your doctor whipped out a spider web bandage? Going at 60 miles per hour would take you an hour to drive to space. Okay. Louisiana is actually home to the rare pink dolphin. I think that's sick, except it kind of looks like a scientist discovered an organism with a disappearing butt. It's known as the comb jelly, and the butt can literally go invisible when it needs to. I'm not entirely sure what situation it would need to disappear, so my question is, nature, you good? There is supposedly a tomb in London that is either a teleportation device or a time machine. This is the final resting place of Hannah Kotoy. Fortunately, the key to the tomb has actually disappeared, so no one will ever find out. Out of curiosity, though, what time would you go to? You watching this video could swim through a blue whale's veins. I don't recommend it, though. And finally, there are this many ways to play the first 4 moves per side in chess. Now share this with a friend. Elon!
Insane true stories that you won't believe. Back in 2004, a man named Mitch, who was a senior in college, fell in love with a girl in his grade. After they graduated, they moved in together and began to work. And 2 years later, they got married. Not too long after, Mitch's wife became pregnant. But his job was going so well that his wife was able to stay at home and take care of their newborn baby. And a few years after that, his wife became pregnant again. Mitch absolutely adored his family, and with raising his kids and having a great job, he was living his best life. But one night while he was watching TV, he noticed something strange out of the corner of his eye. A red lamp in their family living room was blurry. Nothing else in the room was blurry to Mitch except for that lamp. He decided to shrug it off, but when he looked at it again, it was not only blurry, but it appeared to be upside down. He didn't tell his family because he didn't want to concern them. But after a few days, Mitch became obsessed over this lamp. He even skipped work just to stare at it all day long, and he eventually became unresponsive. Part 2's up now.
Guess who is alive and who is? Holding device.
How would you react to finding photos of your father in lingerie? In 2012, 13-year-old Dylan Redwine was very reluctant to see his father Mark over the Thanksgiving break. But unfortunately, Dylan had no choice but to go because the court had mandated this visit and his mom could get into legal trouble if she didn't comply. Dylan took a flight to Durango, Colorado, and once his father picked him up from the airport, they had very minimal communication and then they went to a nearby Walmart. Dylan really didn't want to spend the night at his father's house, so he asked if he could spend the night at his friend's house, but his father said no, so they just went back to his home. Dylan texted his friend that night that he was going to stop by at his house in the morning at 6:30 a.m., but once that time came around, he never showed up, and around 6:46 a.m. is when his friend started to get worried. Mark stated that he left the morning of November 19th to run some errands, and once he got back home, Dylan was gone. However, Dylan's mother Elaine did not believe this story, and immediately she knew that Mark had something to do with this. Dylan's brother Corey stated that the two had tension because Dylan had confronted their father about some disturbing images that he had found. These photos that were discovered by Dylan showed Mark in women's lingerie eating poop from a diaper. The relationship between the boys and their father had become very tense, especially after the divorce, the custody battle for Dylan, and especially after finding those disturbing photos. It is believed that Mark took the life of Dylan in his living room, decapitated him, and threw him in the wilderness for animals to eat him. There was a search warrant for Mark's home, and that is when they discovered Dylan's blood in the living room. Also, a cadaver dog reacted to the scent of a corpse in the bed of Mark's truck. In June of 2013, roughly 8 miles away, they had found some of Dylan's remains, and it was revealed that he succumbed to stab wounds. Mark was convicted of second-degree murder and was sentenced to 48 years in prison.
This video is terrifying. Watch it. It's an urban exploration video. Do not do this, by the way. This animatronic is still there, and it has been abandoned since 2003. Look how big it is. 70 feet long. Giant dragon in Las Vegas. Look at the track it's on. You don't have to get that close to it. You really don't. Please step back. Here's it in water, by the way, which it used to be in 24/7 because it actually took place at the Excalibur show at the Excalibur Hotel in Las Vegas. Bro is absolutely massive, by the way. Bro would come out of this trap door and he would breathe fire and have beef with this dude dressed like a wizard. It would be in this arena, which, what's that? That's the track it would come out on, and my submechanophobia is so disgusted by this photo alone. Not only that, here's what it looks like abandoned. Once again, do not go look at this. This is not safe. But this photo of it completely abandoned behind there with the water drained, oh my God. I hate literally everything about this. How are we feeling?
Here is proof that the Illuminati is real. There are many celebrities rumored to be a part of the Illuminati. This includes, but is not limited to, Nicki Minaj, Miley Cyrus, and Justin Bieber. Not only do they all hold up their hand signs, but they also have the sound E in their name. This in itself is a clue, as the name Illuminati broken down is Illuma, not E. The Illuminati themselves are viewed as the most powerful leaders in the world, and at a young age we are already taught to serve them. One thing many people associate schools with are teachers, and with teachers many people think of apples. And Apple just happens to be one of the biggest companies in the world. It is also worth mentioning that most of their products start with an I. What is another place that starts with an I? If you thought of Iraq, you are correct. But this is just a starting point. A common sign of the Illuminati is a triangle, and the pyramids in Egypt happen to be that shape. This is backed up by the United States $1 bill, which has the Illuminati sign on top of a pyramid on the back. Another common triangle we learn about as a kid is the food pyramid. If you look above Egypt, you'll find Turkey, which is up and to the right, just like on the food pyramid. If you connect all 3 points, you have a triangle. But we're not stopping there. The Illuminati is not just represented by triangles, but they are also represented by an eye. And what do eyes do? They see. And on the map you will see the Mediterranean Sea, the country Syria, and of course the Red Sea. These points give you your second triangle. If you combine these 2 triangles, what do you get? A 2-triangled star. And what lies in the middle of the star? Israel. And guess what Israel's national flag looks like? The 2-triangled star. What do you think about all this? Let me know in the comments.